Hi, I'm Bud.
And I'm Renee.
On this episode, I'll hike the Pinnacles,
We'll visit Warm Springs Ranch
and we'll visit the towns of Blackwater and Narrow Rock. So come along with us
as we explore Eden.
We're all packed up and we're ready to roll. We got 6 more hours to the next time zone. All of the God-given wonders we'll see. Hiking the trails with you beside me. There's nothing I'd rather do than explore Eden with you.
On this stop, we're in north central Missouri, just west of Columbia. It's Thursday night. I've set up camp just outside of Blackwater, Missouri. Renee, our daughter and granddaughter, will be here early Saturday morning as our granddaughter has a soccer tournament in this area. I've got all day Friday to burn, so I'm going to go to Pinnacles Youth Park, an area I've wanted to check out for a while. The park is 12 miles north of Columbia, Missouri, off Highway 63. You can walk down to the creek from the parking lot and see the Pinnacles. I read online to walk north on the road and take a trail marked by an American flag if you want to start your hike at the north end of the Pinnacles. I've walked along the ridge for a little ways and it looks like Heart Attack Hill. Unfortunately, it's going to be our best option to get up on top of the ridge. So here we go. Well, I'm a little winded, but we made it to the top. No heart attack. Not yet, anyway. The park was deeded to the youth of Boone County, Missouri in 1965. It has 70 acres of natural open space for public day use. Youth groups such as scouts, church groups, 4-H, etc. can camp here overnight. It is maintained by the Boone County Pinnacles Youth Foundation and receives no government funds. They accept donations and volunteer labor. The Pinnacles are 75 feet tall and 1,000 feet long. Through millennia, Rocky Fork Creek to the east and Silver Fork Creek to the west have cut through the bedrock, creating these rock formations. We're looking to the north, where we ascended Heart Attack Hill, and we're continuing south along the ridge. No intoxicants, glass containers, rock climbing, or drones are allowed in the park. I'm gonna see if I can find a trail gets me down to lower ground. I've got one more thing I want to see before we leave the park. At the southwest side of the park is the cave-like overhang called the Shelving Rock. "40 feet deep and 125 feet long, it is the effect of floodwater from Silver Creek." Hey guys, the hike on the Pinnacles, that was a blast. There's not too many hikes in the Midwest where you've got exposure on both sides of the trail. It's only a mile loop, so it's not a long trail, but you got a little bit of scrambling in there, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It may not be for you if you're scared of heights, but if you're not, I'd highly recommend it. Got one more stop I want to make while we're here in the Columbia area, so let's go. Rock Bridge Memorial State Park is 5 miles south of Columbia, Missouri. It encompasses 2,273 acres. The park has 15 miles of hiking trails. We're going to hike the Devils Icebox Trail, a half-mile loop. The first feature you'll come to is the Rock Bridge. The bridge was separated from the rest of the cave system when a portion of the cave roof collapsed. Halfway into the loop, you'll come to the Devil's Icebox. The Devil's Icebox cave has a total mapped passage distance of 6.5 miles. You'll enter the Devil's Icebox by descending into a sinkhole that opened up a hole in the side of the cave. Standing in the Devil's Icebox, alone without a flashlight, listening to water coming out of the pitch darkness to my left into the pitch darkness to my right. It's pretty cool, but after a few minutes, I was ready to hightail it out of there. Continuing clockwise on the trail, you'll come to the backside of the natural bridge. This area from the natural bridge over to the Devil's Icebox is the portion of the cave that collapsed. I'm going to call it a day and head back to camp. It's Saturday morning. Renee and the girls have made it here. We have a 10:30 appointment at Warm Springs Ranch.
Here for history and horses?
Yes.
Bud?
Warm Springs Ranch is the official breeding facility of the Budweiser Clydesdales, resting on 300 acres of rolling hills in the heart of Missouri. The tour starts in the breeding room. Here you'll meet one of the stars of the tour. His name is Red. After a welcome and viewing some of the iconic Clydesdale commercials, they explain the origin of the Clydesdale breed. From Scotland, where Belgian and Flemish stallions were imported to breed to local mares, resulting in a significantly larger horse than traditional stock. The Clydesdale name comes from the region where they originated, along the River Clyde in the Dale, which is a valley. No, the original men who bred the horses weren't named Clyde and Dale. Then the guide will explain the breeding process, how the mare and stud are brought into this room, the lights are turned down low, and they put on a little Marvin Gaye. Okay, then they explain to you the real process, how the mares are bred by natural service. They do not use artificial insemination. The tour will go outside past the stud corrals. The farm has 10 pastures and 14 miles of steel white fence. They were training some new drivers the day of our tour. On their 8-horse hitch, the weight of the reins is 40 pounds, plus the tension equals a weight of 75 pounds. That's why they utilize 2 drivers. The 8-horse hitch, horses, harness, and wagon combine for a total weight of 12 tons. The handlers provide daily care and maintenance of the Clydesdales, Dalmatians, equipment, and facilities. They hold a CDL license and drive the tractor trailers, horses, and equipment around the country. They perform quite an array of duties. The harness weighs 130 pounds, and their shoes measure more than 20 inches from end to end and weigh around 5 pounds. To qualify for a Budweiser Clydesdale team, the horse will be a gelding with an even temperament, strong draft horse appearance, at least 4 years old, stand at least 72 inches high at the withers, and weigh 18 to 2,300 pounds. When they travel, they'll take 10 horses, 2 for backups. They'll use 3 tractor trailers to move the horses and equipment. The trailers are not climate controlled. They use windows and fans. They want the horses to get acclimated to the temperatures they're driving into. The last area of the tour is the foaling area. In this area, you'll see the foals they had in the spring. The average weight of a Clydesdale foal at birth is around 150 pounds. This year they had a mare give birth to a foal that weighed 189 pounds, and she did it unassisted. I don't think there's 101, but there's quite a few Dalmatians on the farm, the coach dogs. I highly recommend the tour if you're near the Boonville, Missouri area. The staff do a great job, and the horses are beautiful, majestic animals. Our next stop is Arrow Rock, a state historical site. Lewis and Clark would camp on an island near Arrow Rock on June 9, 1804. Clark would pass Arrow Rock again in 1807 with his dragoons. He noted it was an excellent location for a fort in a town. A trading post was established during the War of 1812, a permanent ferry crossing in 1817, and the town was founded in 1829. The 260-acre historic district was declared a National Historic Landmark in 1963. Arrow Rock was the temporary seat of Saline County in 1839 and 1840. This log structure represents the county courthouse of that period. The building was built in 1830. The Dr. Matthew Hall House was built in 1846. Dr. Hall was a noted civic leader and community physician. In 1856, he moved his family to the country to escape the evil influence of this river town. The George Caleb Bingham House, built in 1837. Bingham was one of America's great 19th century artists. Bingham is famous for his portraits and scenes of river life and politics. He built this federal-style house and lived here intermittently through the 1840s. The Dr. John Sappington Museum. Dr. John Sappington developed and mass-marketed quinine pills nationwide to successfully treat malarial fevers. He wrote the first medical book west of the Mississippi and established a school fund which has aided over 13,000 young people. The J. Hudson Tavern began serving travelers on the Santa Fe Trail in 1834. It is the oldest continually serving restaurant west of the Mississippi River. The lower floor of this building served as the office of the Arrow Rock Statesman newspaper. Bascom Diggs, the editor and publisher, who had his growth stunted by a childhood accident, never let his handicap slow him down. He became sole owner of the newspaper. The Calaboose, a one-room stone jail that replaced one made of logs, held the first prisoner who hollered so loud all night that he kept the neighborhood up. He was released the next day, and the jail was never used again. Formerly a Baptist church, built in 1872, the Lyceum Theater is a professional regional theater that has been producing Broadway caliber productions since 1960. The theater rings the church bell 5 minutes before showtime. The Miller Bradford House, built in 1839, now serves as a gift shop and restaurant. Did you notice the close sign? Yeah, I did too. We were admiring the house a little after business hours, and the proprietor was nice enough to let Renee in. The home was built with a distinctive style, and the shop has some unique gifts. There are so many historic structures in town, you can make an hour-long video on them alone. But there is one more structure that I want to show you. The Brown Lodge was formed by freed slaves following emancipation. The building is now used as a Black History Museum, focusing on the lives of Black Americans in this area after emancipation, the period between 1865 and 1960. The museum tells the story of how the freed slaves built their homes, schools, churches, and lives in this town. I seldom think of Missouri as a slave state, likely because the state did not join the Confederacy. For the most part, Black and white citizens in town would meet in each other's homes. Their children would play together, yet on Monday, their children attended different schools. In the mid-1900s, several families, Black and white, moved to large cities for more job opportunities. When desegregation came to Arrow Rock schools, there were no issues. The kids already knew each other. The small museum does a good job of telling the lives of the Arrow Rock Black community. We're going to visit the Arrow Rock Visitor Center. The center starts by covering the Native Americans of the area. The name Arrow Rock comes from the bluff along the Missouri River. The flint-bearing, high limestone bluff, where Native Americans used the stone from the bluff to manufacture flint tools and weapons. Archaeological evidence shows they have used the bluff as a manufacturing site for nearly 12,000 years. This is the floor trunk of Alexander Willard, the blacksmith and gunsmith on the Lewis and Clark expedition. The trunk was made in 1798. The picture of Alexander and his wife Eleanor was taken in 1864. Alexander was one of 2 men on the expedition that lived to have their picture taken. Boone's Lick Country is the area where Daniel Boone's sons built a large boiling method to extract salt from Salt Creek. They would ship the salt on a flatboat downriver to St. Louis, where 50 pounds would bring $2 to $2.50, a tidy sum in 1805. The museum is laid out well and does an excellent job explaining the history of the area. Just south of town is the Arrow Rock Campground. The campground has 12 tent sites at $15 per night, 22 back-end sites, and 13 pull-through sites. 25 of these sites are 50 amp at $27 per night. The 30 amp sites are $25 per night. Water is available in several locations. There is a shower house and restrooms. And there's a dump station in the campground.
We're in Blackwater, small town of less than 200.
With a downtown area that looks like a time capsule from the 1950s. The town takes its name from the Blackwater River that runs from west to east just north of town. Founded in 1887 by the Missouri Pacific Railroad, the town's economy was largely defined by freight. The depot was built in 1888 and restored in 2008. It can be reserved for events. The Wabash Caboose is one of two remaining. The town is raising money to restore it and make it a small hobo museum. This two-story building was built in 1907 as the Bank of Blackwater. The bank closed during the Great Depression and the building was bought by the telephone company. It is currently owned by the Blackwater Preservation Society and used as a telephone museum. In 1889, the Frady Hotel opened to house railroad travelers. Today it operates as Iron Horse Hotel, a bed and breakfast. Well, the sun has set on this adventure. I enjoyed hiking at Pinnacles Youth Park, and seeing the majestic Clydesdales at Warm Springs Ranch was a great experience. The historic towns of Arrow Rock and Blackwater, Missouri are picturesque settings where we could have spent more time. Until the next one, take care of yourself and those around you, and get out there and explore Eden.